and then go down to the insert tab, go down to line charts, select the first one, right? But before I even continue, let me talk a little bit about what I mean by forecasting in Microsoft Excel. So forecasting means you want to look into the future, you want to see what is happening, what will happen in the future, right? So that's what I'm basically going to show you all how to do today. Now, working with this data set, we are going to analyze this data to get insight from the data by we can decide to do it either by getting insight for 2 years or 3 years plus, depending on the kind of insight that you want to get from the data set. But for today, I'll just be going with 2 years into the data. So for a start, like I said, what you want to make sure to do is that you need to highlight your data and then have an overview of what your data looks like. And by doing that, you select it and then go down to the insert tab, right? Then go down to line chart and then select. So this would basically just give you an overview of what your data set looks like. Then when you've done this, the next thing that we want to do now is that we want to basically do forecasting in Microsoft Excel. And how do we do that? We would use the forecast sheets on Microsoft Excel. Now, for us to do that, we would go back to highlighting our data set. So we are basically going to work with just the date and then the sales column data, right? So we are going to highlight both. Now, select it, go down to data tab. Then once you come down, you would see the forecast sheet. So select that. And then this chart here comes up. Now I'll be explaining this chart in details. What this tells us now is that the blue sheet here gives us an overview of the actual data that we have, and this gives us the forecast features of the data set that was put up on Microsoft Excel. So this is telling us that we have this for 2025, right? It's showing us, giving us a replay. It's just basically telling us that okay, for 2025, this is what is going to happen as regards the data set that was used. But if we don't want that, let's say for instance, we want to change it, we want to use another year, or let's say we want to add up, we want to look into 2026 as well, we can edit that here. So we'll just basically change that here by selecting another month and then increasing it. If not, then we come down to the options pane here. So for this, let me basically explain what we have here. Now, looking at this, you would see that for the timeline range here, it's basically just telling us the data that was selected. Now, for us, for what we did, you would observe that the data was highlighted and selected. That's the reason why we have the range here. So we have the range that was selected here. We have the values range here, as well as we have the file missing points using, telling us that we have the interpolation here. Now, coming down to the date, this is where you get to change the date. If you want to change that, for the forecast end, we have 2025. So I think I want to increase that to December, right? So I would select that. And then for the start date, I'll leave it at what we already have. Now for this, Microsoft Excel tells you the confidence interval, right? And for this, it's telling us 95%, which is fair, which is very good for what we want to do. So I'm going to leave that at that. Then for the seasonality, it's basically just telling us that it's at 4 because we are working with a quarterly data, right? So this sits so well. So I'll just leave that at that, and then I click enter. So when I click enter, you basically see what will happen. Yeah. So I'll create, and once I do that, automatically Excel brings up another sheet explaining what was done, right? So let me just bring this. Okay, all right, I think this is fine. So this here basically explains the processes that was undergone for us to have this. Now for this here, this what this tells us is that we have our data set, we have the forecast sales, right? We have the lower confidence bound and then the upper confidence bound. Now this orange line here, like I said earlier, tells us about the forecast. Now the thicker line here is the forecast range, while the one below gives us the lower confidence bound, while the one above tells us about the upper confidence bound. Now, when I go down, you would see the values that Excel that was generated for us to have this chart here. Now, this is telling us that we have this. So these are the values below. These are the values that were generated for us to have this chart that we have here. So basically, therefore, me not to go so deeper, it's just like showing you how to actively do this when you have data set to work with. And this knowledge is very good if you're a financial analyst, a data analyst, a data scientist, or working in the financial modeling field. So this is basically all I have to show today. So I think, do we have questions?
So yeah, so thank you, Abimbola. We have a question from Ami Diamond. So he's asking,
Okay.
is this with AI?
Okay, so no, this is not with AI, but AI can actually do this. Copilot and Excel can actually do this. I just want giving him a prompt. Copilot can do this, but what I'm showing today, I didn't use AI to do this actually.
All right, thank you. So that will answer Ami Diamond's question. So Dan, for me, this is beautiful. I don't know if you have a comment.
Yeah, this is great. Charting in Excel is not the thing that I would consider the most intuitive. So thanks for showing both the charting capabilities and then also the forecasting capabilities of Excel. That's great.
All right. So thank you, Abimbola, for that wonderful contribution. I'm sure that a lot of us have learned from this. Yes. So Dan, I may want to pass the mic to you.
Sure. Let me share my screen here real quick. Let me know when it's visible here. There we go. So I wanted to talk about both live streaming in Restream, which is a competitor to StreamYard, which we are using for the Azure and AI Show, and then also within Microsoft Teams. One thing that Restream allows you to do, restream.io, as a website, is when you create new streams, you can actually go live with other platforms, including Teams. So we have a URL and a stream key that we can use to use these other platforms. And then from those other platforms, we can actually send it to Restream and then have Restream send it to other platforms. So from a Teams meeting, if I open my Teams meeting here, I'm logged on as Satya Nadella from the Microsoft company. And I can go ahead and add in the app custom streaming to Microsoft Teams. So the custom streaming app in Microsoft Teams is something that you have to make sure is enabled from an administrative perspective. We cover that in the MS 700 course. It's not part of, I believe, the official MS 700 course, but it is information that you can look up on learn.microsoft.com. And then we need a stream URL and a stream key. And these are the two values that we get either from YouTube, from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from wherever you want to go live. You need to find the stream URL and you need a link and the information about the stream key to allow you to connect over to that external service. So once I have that connection, I can then go live on the channels that I have configured. So if I look in this list, I have the Microsoft Speaker Hub on LinkedIn, I have my YouTube channels, I have Frank's channel, and I have my Facebook channel. And I believe I can go live on up to 8 of these different channels from Restream. So I connect those over to different channels. And then I believe I give this to my software. Go over to Teams. We tell Teams to stream. Let's see if we're having a technical issue here. Restream, let's do RTPS. Should be a secured connection. See if that works. Looks like it's setting up. And then now I can see that there's no video being shared or sound. So if I share my video, we should get video in the meeting. And then if I turn on my sound, we should get sound in the meeting. I may need to mute this. We'll see. It looks like we're okay. And so whatever I'm sharing within the Teams meeting is now being sent to Restream. And then from Restream, it's being sent to several different locations. Now, one thing that I discovered with the live custom streaming is within PowerPoint Live, I can use this feature within Microsoft Teams. However, what I'll notice over on the Restream side, and eventually over on the different channels that I've gone live on, is that those participants can't see the PowerPoint live. And the reason for that is, I guess, how the PowerPoint live is being shared with the connection, the custom streaming connection out to Restream, and then Restream is connected to these other 3 services. So one thing I can do in this case is I could connect out to another application. So if I open the Edge browser on my computer, and then we share the Edge browser. What I can do from here is go to PowerPoint.new. And I can log in as the same account that I was using. And then because PowerPoint is a browser, my Teams application understands that I'm sharing, and my LinkedIn event that's also on Facebook and YouTube from Restream understands this connection. So now from a browser, I can go to open my MS700 April 2025, and I can show some of the updates from a Teams perspective. And because I'm sharing a PowerPoint, I can add additional slides. Live events, update, Restream. Let's use RTMPS to multiple platforms. Up to 8 online social channels can be configured. Microsoft Teams or another application can be used to go live. So the other thing I might want to do here is provide information about how to configure this. I can come here to my Teams window, take a screenshot, go back here to PowerPoint and insert pictures from this device. The photos that you take on a Mac using the screenshot feature are stored on your desktop. So I can go to my desktop, grab grab a screenshot from within Restream. To show the configuration there, insert photo of this device, scroll to the bottom, configure Restream for where the stream from Teams is sent. And then if I went out to either these channels or others, Frank's LinkedIn account has expired from my Restream account. Microsoft, I have other places that I could send the video. And so to stop or to continue with different things that I can do from the team side with live recordings, live events or live recordings are separate from the recordings that you can make in Microsoft Teams. So if I wanted maybe a snippet of this to share with folks on social media or somewhere else, I can record in Teams at the same time that I'm sending this live to social media. Now, just like with a bucket that you're filling with water, I can either turn off the water to stop the bucket from filling, or I can remove the bucket from under the water or the faucet. You can do the same thing with Teams and recording and live streaming. If I want to stop the recording because I have that snippet that I'm going to share with people on social media or on a website, etc., I can stop the recording. And this means the meeting continues and it's still being streamed out to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If I choose to go to the custom streaming, I can pull that bucket away from LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook and stop it from streaming to those platforms while still being in the meeting and still recording this portion of the meeting. Just like with recording and the warnings that you are recording a meeting, all of the people participating in your Teams meeting also are aware when you start recording or start streaming and when you stop recording or stop streaming. So everybody's gotten a warning that streaming is turned off. And then everybody will also get a warning when I pull that bucket away from the recording. So now we're still in a meeting. There could be multiple people in the meeting and we're still here, but we're not sending it out to LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. And we're also not recording the meeting anymore. So here, folks, we've taken a look at several things we can do, one of which is configuring Microsoft Teams for online streaming and live events. And we've also looked at how we can combine this with Restream. Restream.io is their website, and up to 8 channels that we might want to send our video to at the same time. And with that, I'll turn things back over to Joseph this week.
Yeah, Dan, that was beautiful. It was a great presentation. I think this is about my first time looking at Restream, like the way it works. I've heard about it from you alone. I've not heard it from any other place. So, but when I opened the realstream.io, I see one live stream, 30 plus destination, right? And then I see multi-stream, reach out to audience wherever they are. I see sign up for free. So do you want to throw light on how one can get subscriptions, or if these are free? So what's the difference between 30 plus destination and 8 destination that we can see on your own?
Yeah, let me share my, just instead of my entire screen, I will share my application so I can stay in the meeting here. So if I share just the window for Restream. There we go. Let me know if that comes up.
Okay, I'll just pop it on now. All right, so
hey,
we have
Steven.
it now.
Hey, Gabriel, thanks. So yes, as you indicated, Restream is a software competitor to StreamYard, which we've been using for the Azure and AI Show. And we originally started using for Journey to the Cloud, our monthly show. But Restream, like StreamYard, has a sign up for free feature. If you have an account with Restream, you can sign into that account. And then with that account, you have the ability to purchase the software. Just like Frank Falvey has purchased StreamYard, I have purchased a subscription to Restream. So I have a StreamYard account, or I had one. Frank now has a StreamYard account, and I have an account for Restream. And my current account is the professional account for $41 a month. And it allows me to go to 8 channels at once. There's video looping. There's the studio that we just used and configured. I can use an extra camera. So if I want to have 2 camera views, maybe of my video and my phone, or my video in 2 different angles, I can use extra cameras. And then I can upload the streams as well. They have different plans. And then I believe they have a team feature similar to what StreamYard has. Many of the features of StreamYard and Restream are very similar, right? So I have a studio just like we have with StreamYard. And the Restream studio has the ability to invite guests, for those guests to configure their software to send it out to different places. If I allow this through permissions, we can get my video and my audio here. And then within the studio, I decide if I'm inviting guests, what I'm doing with my settings, what I do with a virtual background, and then I can share my screen. Very similar to StreamYard if you're familiar with it. I can add captions from comments, or just captions that I have edited in the interface. So as a producer in Restream, it is very similar to StreamYard. The one thing that I've seen in Restream that I have not seen in StreamYard is this ability to actually send a new stream from something like Microsoft Teams to the destinations like YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. I haven't seen that with StreamYard. You have to use StreamYard to send to those different places. One thing that I've seen with StreamYard that I haven't seen with Restream is that StreamYard now has an app for joining as a guest. They don't have an app for Android. They suggest using the Chrome browser from your phone. But within StreamYard, if you're a guest, like on the Azure and AI Show, I can join from a computer or from my phone. And so each of the applications has areas that they're doing a little differently than the others. And that's one thing that I've noticed about Restream versus StreamYard, or a couple things.
Okay, that's a nice one and a very beautiful exposure at that. So, but I'm just wondering, we like free things, right? So I see sign up for free. So what's the free version going to do for us? Do we have a place to explore that?
I used to use the free version. I believe it does something similar to the free version of StreamYard. It limits how many places you can go live. It may not have the feature like going live with teams and targeting those 3 or 4, however many platforms you can go. And then the free version may have like a logo in the upper right-hand corner.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
But you can sign up for free. So I could either sign up as another account, or Joseph, you, or Ebola, Gabriel, Stephen. Folks can sign up for the free copy and see what they do on the platform. It's super intuitive. Yeah.
I think it's more cheaper than StreamYard, the standard version, I think.
So the original purchase, Gabriel, was cheaper than StreamYard, but then StreamYard, when I went to remove StreamYard account, it was a little more expensive than StreamYard. So I think they're fighting for the price, the most economical price.
Yeah.
And StreamYard, when I went to cancel, so I bought Restream because it was cheaper. And then I went to cancel StreamYard, and they said, hey, wait, before you cancel, would you like to do half price with the same features, but just with the advertisement in the upper right-hand corner, which would have made StreamYard cheaper. And I thought, you should have told me about this before I went and bought something else and then went back to StreamYard. So the other trick is to see if they're still offering that like half price for just the advertisement in the corner. And I'll remind Frank about that before his renewal comes up.
Okay. So we can threaten them to say we want to cancel and let them give us half the price.
Yes. We have tried, not recently, we should try again to talk to the 2 companies and see if either company is interested in sponsorship. Because if they sponsored us, I'd be happy to talk about Restream or StreamYard. Restream is also based on Azure on the back end. Somebody from Microsoft told me that, and that StreamYard is based on AWS or Amazon Web Services. Again, we're not getting paid by either of them. So at this point, it's just whichever of those two products people have some familiarity with or interest in. Restream having this ability to target multiple platforms from its environment is the main reason that I have interest in looking at that versus StreamYard at this point.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much, Dan, for
no problem.
Yeah. So Gabriel, thank you.
What's up, guys? Ladies, how are you?
Yeah,
pleasure to be here again. No, it's maybe I'm not sure, but I am looking for, maybe I can share a couple of things. I think it's very interesting. Maybe 1 second.
Okay.
It's better, right?
Okay.
So basically, let me share with you because I don't remember. It's okay. Could you confirm that's my screen? Here we go.
Yeah, it's
okay. If you know, but it's like us, like NCT, MVPs, or any enthusiasm around the technology, delivery course, delivery session. The more is important here is the engagement, right? So basically, this is very simple how to is possible with Copilot help to improve this feedback, right? I don't know that you are using, but for my site, always I am using, let me to duplicate it in this form. If you know in the form, it's here. Sorry, this is in Spanish, but I can't change for another session, but is the same is right. Okay. When you are using form, you know, you can use in Copilot. So I delivery session focus on Copilot M365, blah blah blah. Okay. You can do, please give me a form. Okay. Generate, etc. Okay. You can use Copilot. The first thing is to do the form, right? Okay, but how it's possible to analyze this form or read or improve? With the same Copilot, you can see here, I had one form for demo. It's a Copilot chat feedback. Okay, you can see here, how satisfied the Copilot, blah, 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 blah. You can go to Copilot 365, and then when seeing it, no, let me check. Okay. And this, for example, this one. Analyze file the Copilot chat, this one, slash Copilot feedback, and give me a ranking for the best and wrong reviews. Which topic are replaced the most, blah, blah, blah. Now Copilot is analyzing the file automatically and give me the best choice. For example, satisfaction, file, leaking or recommended, most and later rated topic, etc. So basically, we can use Copilot to the first step is to do the form with any topic, and then after, with the same Copilot 365, we can analyze all entire information and give me the feedback to improve our session or course or engagement with our audience, like LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever. So it's basically very easy, but I think this is very powerful tool together, Copilot and Copilot in form, because you can use in Copilot form attach in this part, you can attach or PE or draft directly all information and then build the own form focus on your information. This is I can show. Another things, remember, for example, I don't know what you are using OneDrive, you can compare. I don't know if you are know this feature. You can select different items and then go to the compilers. Is you can compare between, and this is different. Is working around the your it's preparing. It's in Spanish. How else? Okay, you can see very quickly the different in one file, in another file. You can see this is very important. And the last one, I don't know, but if you can see here now, we have Copilot inside to the blog note, not blog, sorry. And you can see interactive with this one. You can see resume. And you can see we have Copilot inside. So it's very, very easy, but I don't know in the notebook if we have Copilot, but it is the first time today I opened the blog and see, oh, we have Copilot. What I mean, so basically it's very interesting. So I don't have more today, but basically the main here is you can use the form with Copilot and they analyze it with the same Copilot all result to achieve and improve your with your audience, like MCT, MVP, or every technology.
So, Gabe, I think this is so nice. So, but my question, I mean, my comment would be that the part of comparison is definitely going to be very useful to the HRs, right? The human resource managers and recruiters, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you can easily compare CVs, right? And know the differences in terms of years of experience, in terms of certifications by different candidates. But you by chance
Ah,
know
yeah,
how, but do you by chance know how many you can compare at a time? How many documents?
yeah.
How many?
Hmm.
Do you by chance
Up
know
to
how many
file,
documents?
up to
Up to
five,
five.
five files, five file.
I see.
So
I see.
in this specific case, honestly, I recommend to build your own agent or your own tool for this specific situation. For maybe
Okay.
you can see the skills because it's very different when you compare. For example, you are in HR.
Mm-hmm.
Compare me this candidate. This one is a programmer. This is an architect. The skill
Mm-hmm.
is very it's not common word when you are used to describe your skill.
Mm-hmm.
Python, JS, .NET, so wherever. So basically, also you can do that, but I recommend to build your own and trainer model for this. So obviously,
Mm-hmm.
for enterprise application, right? But if it's
Yeah.
a couple of small company, obviously you can use this one.
Okay. So
Maybe
for the
another. Sorry, go ahead, please.
so I was just going to say that the other one I saw you on a is looking like a notepad, right? But I have a
Yeah,
sign
in
in there.
Notepad. Yeah,
Uh,
also.
so is that I'm trying to look at where to sign into Notepad, but I can't find one. Can you show us how you were able to sign into Notepad?
Yeah, I have login here with two different accounts, right? Okay, this is
Okay.
very important. This is my computer. I am logging. You must to be logging.
Okay.
You can see here that
Mm.
it's Copilot. It's in preview.
It's cool.
Mm.
This is my. This is with M365 plan, home plan. I remember.
Okay.
You have a different plan in 365, enterprise,
Yeah.
business, whatever, and then you can see for home from to from home on your user. If you have
Okay.
with this plan, you have access to Copilot 365 inside to PowerPoint, Word. Let me show you Word, for example. Oops, Word. Mm-mm-mm. You can see here I have I have Copilot in Word,
Mm-hmm.
but I am logging into with my personal account, not enterprise account.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very important. Let me show you M360 plans. Let me how it's possible to translate to this one to English. Here we go. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, please.
Yep.
If you buy this one, M360 family or personal, you can access to a productivity app with Copilot 365, only in productivity, like PowerPoint, Excel, Word, like this one. You
Mm-hmm.
can see, and then you can use right
Gabriel,
about
it's smart enough to know what
Copilot
language you're using, right?
365.
If you
I
type your
think Dan has
prompt
a.
in Spanish,
Sorry?
Gabriel, if
I
you
think.
type your prompts in Spanish, then the output is
Yeah,
Spanish, right?
yeah. It's automatically doesn't care. It doesn't matter if you are configure your work in any language. You can describe basically.
Okay.
Oops, sorry. Control A, no, Control E, exactly. Now in Spanish, for example, Copilot is very smart.
That's awesome.
So, like, and also talk any, you can see, okay, Misterio, the forest, wizard, blah, blah, blah. The same, but if you have a, Joseph, this plan, you have Copilot in all activity, in all productivity tools as well. I have this one. In with this personal plan, I am logging in Notepad.
Got it.
You can see this one, this one. The most important here, also you can see here, it's credit with AI because you consume credit.
Right.
If you continue reading here, yes, I remember. I don't remember what it's credit, but it's talking about this one more or less about the credit or something like that.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
Also,
remember.
the amount of use,
Ah,
right?
this one you can see. No
Use
thanks. All
limits.
features are only available to subscription owner can be shared and limit apply. AI limit usage. Minimum age limit maybe application subscription lay more, etc.
okay.
That's great.
But
That's
basically
awesome.
you can use. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome, Gabriel. Thank you very much for that insight. I've learned
No
from
problem.
that. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us
Thank
did.
you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to, I just want for us to wrap up, I will just bring up something on the screen, and that's how to onboard users for M365. So I'm going to share my screen now.
Mhm.
Share screen, entire screen. I'm going to pick this. Okay. All right. So I may need to add my screen. Okay. So I want to believe that my screen is visible now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was speaking to some of my students over the weekend, I was saying that one thing that is important is if we really know the simple things, we can avoid the complex issues, right? When it comes to administration or working in tech generally. So this you have here is the Microsoft 365 Administrative Center. And how do you get here? Really, you need to be an administrator, right, of your tenants before you can get in here. And how you can get in here is to do admin.microsoft.com. You will get into the admin center. For enterprise, Gabriel was already telling us about licenses. So here is where you will see your licenses that you have active, right? You have them under licenses that will list out. They'll come on now. Just trying to load. So you have them. You know when they are, how many are remaining, how many you've assigned to people. So you can see business basic, Business Premium license. I have the Microsoft Copilot Studio via trial, the Microsoft Fabric license. So all these are licenses, right? But our point of discussion today is how do you even onboard users in M365? Let's say your HR sends a mail to you in IT to say somebody is resuming, maybe Abimbola is resuming today in data analytics departments. How do you provision an account for her, right? So one of the easiest way that you can do that is to come to admin.microsoft.com and sign in with an administrative account that has either the global administrator or the user administrator to create that user. So how you do it is, if you're going to create a user who is not supposed to have an admin role, then a user admin can do that. But based on principle of least privilege access, if you are creating a user that does not have an admin role, then a user admin can just do that job. But if you want to give a role to another user, right, so you must use the privilege role administrator or the global admin role. So how do you create a non-administrative user is a question, right? So when you come to admin.microsoft.com, you have users, and then under users, you have active users. So you can just click on active users. So if you click on active users, so what this is going to do for you is it will display all the users that you have in your environment, right? So you also have information about their email addresses, about their licenses that are assigned to them. Then the ones that are not licensed, you equally see it there. And then another point to mention here is their sync status. Their sync status speaks to where the users were created. So if the users were created the same way that we are going to create our users now, then they will have the cloud icon showing that these users are cloud only users. And then if you have this rectangle here, it means that the user was created from the on-premises server and then it was synced to the cloud. So that means the source of authority of the user that has this rectangle is the on-premises server, right? While the ones that has the cloud icon is the one that you created from the cloud. Therefore, you can modify the attributes of this user from the cloud because the source of authority is the cloud. So you come here, you can create a user. If you are creating one, so you could create that user by hitting on create. Then if you are frequent at creating users, you may decide to pop up a template that you would always use each time you are creating users. Let's say users that are resuming in IT in the Lagos office of Nigeria. You can decide to create a template just so when anyone is joining Lagos office in Nigeria, instead of starting from the scratch, you just use the templates to get the user created within a few clicks, right? So you also have the add multiple user option. So for the add multiple user option is of two types. So if you are creating 259 users, right, you can use this feature of typing in the username and the details required. But if you're having 250 and above, you may want to use a CSV format, right? You can use the CSV file to collect the details of the user from your HR and then use that CSV to create the user. But really, what we want to do today is not going to be creating multiple users. It's just going to be adding just a user to our tenants, right? So I'm going to click on add at this time. So if I click on add, what comes up next is it tells me the first name of the user, the last name of this user that I want to create, right? And it also asks me the display name, right? Some things here are important because if they can be avoided, they will really help you to solve a lot of critical issues. What is that? For example, it is not mandatory, it's not required for you to type in the first and the last name of a user resuming, right? So the reason I'm saying this is because if you're writing MS102, this is a very simple question, but people can easily fail it, right? Because at this point, you need to be aware that if you're giving the user a first name and the last name is fine, but it's optional. But you must give the user a display name, and you must give a user a username. Now, MS-102 will ask you, while creating or provisioning an M365 users, which of these features are compulsory or required? A, first name; B, last name; C, display name; D, username. Or it may just be pick two of these as your response, right? So you need to be aware that the display name of the user is mandatory, and the username is also mandatory. But you see, one thing is, for example, if I'm using Gabriel Abimbola here, so if I type the name here, it will automatically populate here when I just click next, right? So let me just do that. I'm going to mix the name of the people we have on the call: Gabriel, then we have Abimbola here. So you can see already that it's telling me that please provide the display name. So if I hit on this, the name from here will just travel from here to arrange the display name for me. So if I want to do the email address of this user, I'm just going to paste their names there, but because it does not allow space between them, I may just close out the space and put a dot to say it's Gabriel.Abimbola. Now, the next point is this, right, where I get to add domains to my environment. And the last time I checked, I think you can add 999 domains to one tenant. Let me check. How many domains can I add to M365 tenants? I think it's a very ridiculous number, either 900, 900 domains. So you can add as much as 900 domains to your environment. So your domain may be based on location, the .com.ng for your Nigeria user, .co.uk for your UK users, .co.za for your South African user, depending on how you want to do it, right? You can really bring it up this way. So for me, if I'm using .com.ng, because this user is probably resuming in Lagos, I can pick up the domain here, right? And then the next point that is very important is this here. Is asking me, do you want the system to auto-generate the password for the user? If you want that, you can leave it checked. But if you have like a conventional password you use for first-time login, you can uncheck this and then you supply the password that you want to add there, right? But for me, I just want to leave it to generate automatically. And then the next point is, do you want the user to change their password when they first sign in? Of course, this is standard practice requirement. So what you do is to click on next. So here is where you choose to create the user and assign a license to the user, right? So if you do not have license, or if you do not wish to grant the user a license at this stage of your user creation, you must click on this before this is activated for you, right? So if you do not click on create user without product license, which is not recommended anyway, you cannot go to the next step. So why not we just try to give this user business basic license, right? So we just do this. So when you do that, there are applications that come along with the license that you're giving to the user, right? So you may want to check, true, because with the business basic I'm giving to this user, I have 34 applications, right? I can decide to uncheck either of the applications I do not want the user to have access to. But if I'm fine, let's say, for example, I don't want the user to ever use Planner, right? But I want him to use Teams. I also do not want him to use Projects, right? I can remove that, depends. So when you are troubleshooting issues and the user cannot access a particular application, don't stop at the license only. Just try to scroll down to see the applications that are also checked in the licenses that are assigned to the user, right? So once that is okay, you can just click on next. So here is where you choose to put the other details. For example, if you wanted to give the user a role, right, you can give the user a role. But I said we're going to create a user without role. So if you have further details about the user, these are optional settings: the job title, data analyst, right? So department is maybe IT, right? And then which office? Going to be in Lagos office. Then the other details, if I have a phone number, I'm just going to input that here, right? The streets is going to be maybe I don't know what you're going to put there, right? But you can put these are completely optional setting. Lagos is the city, the zip code, so you can do next. So the next thing you do is you review this detail. The name is going to be Gabriel Abimbola. So it means that the email address the user is going to have is Gabriel.abimbola at pillarsconcepts.com.ng. That's fine, right? So the next I will do is to click on finish. So if I click on finish, this is going to create the user in the list of my active users. So the next thing I will do is for me to share this with Abimbola or Gabriel as is resuming, is for me to click on this show, and then I will have to copy this email address, right? And then the password, and either send to him directly, or I can click on print, and that's just going to give me a PDF, right, that I may want to share with him. You can see the details here. So I can decide to print this and share it as the case may be. But before we go on, let's look at the user experience because we have like 1 minute to close. So I'll kind of say Gabriel. So that means the user is created. Now, what's the user going to do when he wants to sign in, right? That's the next thing. So I'm going to open an in private window now so that we just have the user experience before we go. So I will do office.com. So this is the user signing in the first day into that office, right? So it's just going to hit on sign in. And then what is it going to do next? It's going to supply the email address that was created for him by the admin, right? Okay, so it's going to do this, the email address, this one here, next. Then it's going to supply the temporary password, right? This, and then it does sign in. So when this happens, so the next thing it will say is, did I not paste that part correctly? So let's see. If I did not, I'm just going back to go copy it. Okay, your account or password is incorrect. So let's go back and check. This is, so one of the things that you can do quickly is to change the user's password, which I'm going to do. If, for example, the user had come back to you to say, hey, your password you gave me is not working, right? So you can and hit on this, so you can automatically create that password, reset the password for the user. Okay, so this is going to be the user new password. And just so if I made any mistake in the username, I'm going to copy that as well. And then I'm coming back here. I'm hoping that what I typed there was correct. So I put this password again here. This sign in. So that should work now, except the email address is wrong, which I'm thinking is correct. This is going to tell me that I need to set up MFA, right? Depend on my organization. So I will have to do next, right? So if I do next, which is a standard practice, I'm going to add this account to my authenticator app. Okay. So I'm expecting that to come on. So you open the app on your phone, right? So you do to the right-hand side, you can add the account or you can decide to put a phone number to it, right? So let me see if I can skip this so that instead of setting up the MFA for my accounts, yeah. So let me see what happened next. Okay, so it's forcing me because of the policy set up in this tenant, right? Okay, so let me see if it's still insisting on only phone number option, and just because I wouldn't want to put my phone number on the screen as this is a live event, I may just walk you through how you could do that, right? But if the tenant had set up for the option of using Authenticator app, I would have actually used that. But the only system that is set up here is to set up the phone MFA. So what you would do here is to provide the phone number, set up your country code, provide the phone number. You're going to click next. And then let me even see this if it's going to. So this will also require for another detail, but basically you can use call me or receive a text to this place. And then the next thing you do is to click on next, and then you can set it up and you are signed in as a first time user in that organization. So steps is just to go into the admin center, then you do add a user, right? Supply the details required, go to next to give the product license to the user. For the optional settings, you're going to set the city, the location, the phone numbers, and the rest. And then once you are fine with that, you click on finish and then copy the username and the password that you can share with the user. And that's the simplest way to onboard user in M365. So thank you very much, everyone. I don't know if there's any comments to this before I stop sharing my screen.
It's a great demo.
Great demo,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Gabriel. Yep. So yeah, that will be, I think we just spent 4 minutes beyond the schedule for this call. And I want to say thank you very much, guys, for your time and your attention. We have Stephen, but Stephen is just very busy. Hey, Stephen. So thank you very much. And then Abimbola, thank you for coming on board today. Dan, thank you for the great demo. And
Thank you.
Gabriel,
Yeah,
thank you
please, I
very
have
much
a
for.
question. Done.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, as regards the restream, I wanted to ask that question, then I went off. So I wanted to ask about if I want to use restream, does it have limitations to for the free version, like let's say 14 days limit or a month limit? I just want to know the limitations to using free versions on restream.
That's a great question. I don't think there's limits in the amount of time you can use it. There are limits in the types of ways that you can connect to other social media. So I believe there might be a time limit in the lives that you do, maybe an hour or 40 minutes or something. I don't recall all the details. But there's also limits in the recordings that you can save. And then there's limits in how many social media places you can send the videos at the same time. So for instance, in Restream that I have that's licensed and it costs about $40 a month, I can go live on 8 different platforms. And I can also set up a team of people that have access to share the licensing and the basically the benefits that I get. That's what Frank does with this. So he set up Joseph, where Joseph can run the show this Saturday. And he can do that for, I think, maybe 1 or 2 other people. I believe I can do the same with Restream. I have maybe 2 or 3 people that I can let use the same benefits that I have without having to give them my username and password.
Yeah, so Dan, StreamYard used to be
All
up to
right,
4.
thank you. That answered my question.
So
No problem.
StreamYard used to be up to 4, right? But they cut it down to 2, while they even double their pricing, right?
Okay.
So have you checked yours to know how many you are supposed to be able to add as a team?
Let me double check here. I haven't looked at it recently just because I don't use it all the time, but I use it often.
I thinking about now. So sorry, but I thinking in but I thinking you are talking about to the restreaming, right?
Restream the
Yeah,
application.
yeah. No. I thinking about it's possible to use you show us to. It's possible to restreaming from Teams. That is correct. It's possible, but also maybe we can use or testing around to the using um, interpreter in real time. This is a very curious. Maybe we should test it something around this topic then.
It looks like I've got 3 slots, so I can add up to 3 people to Restream.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the bandwidth comparison? Have you compared that with StreamYard? Because I know that StreamYard uses a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah. So one thing that we were playing around with StreamYard specifically was, or sorry, with Restream specifically earlier was the bandwidth requirements. And it seemed like Restream did a better job with streams that had a lower pixel density than with StreamYard at the time that we were using it.
Okay.
So
Because
in my testing, I haven't run into those kind of problems with, like sharing my screen and then my screen being maybe really high resolution. But when we were originally using this, some of the really dense resolutions, like I don't know what this Mac is at, probably 2000 by 1000 pixels. Those types of high resolutions were causing problems with bandwidth usage. I don't think I've seen those same types of issues with it, but I don't know if it's any better at doing optimization of like screen share if you're doing a window versus an entire screen. I would imagine a window probably uses less bandwidth because there's less stuff changing on like a web page versus your entire computer if you're moving the screen around or those types of things.
okay, that makes sense. It's a good comparison because the issue of bandwidth is a concern for a lot of persons from different regions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I need, Babola or Joseph, is your email addresses, and I can add you as team members to my account, and we can play around with it and just see if it seems better with like the bandwidth, or I don't know if there's ways to store files. There's ways to add channels, and then there's settings. There's stream setup settings. I don't see anything in here that really talks about bandwidth use.
Okay, so I just dropped my email address there. Dan, you may just want to add me, please, because I would like to test this out myself. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Yeah, so we may want to end the live show by this time because we spent like 11 minutes beyond the time. So I'm sure that this is a very engaging session, and I'm sure that Frank is proud of us. I'm sure he's watching us somewhere.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Abimbola. Thank you, Opeyemi, for your beautiful contributions. We'll be back here again next Saturday with another episode of this event, and I hope by then we would have been also prepared with the the stuff that we discussed today and come up with more innovating topics for our conversation also. So have a good one out there, and thank you very much.
You too. Bye.
Yep. Yeah.